Welcome everyone to Gamer Meld. Today I've got a bunch of big stories, starting with huge hardware deals. GPU prices are plummeting, Nvidia's new GPU is even worse than we thought, new Ryzen 3D processors, and Nvidia's RTX 4000 gets insane clocks. Okay, it's news time, and first up for today, we have some really interesting deals for July 4th for PC hardware. Starting things off, we have the Samsung 980 Pro SSD. This is a PCI Express Gen 4 SSD, and this 2TB model is down 32%, bringing it down to $260. Next, we have a pretty sweet deal for Intel's i7 12700K. Now, really quickly, I will go and say it says it's 23%, but it really isn't. This list price is not correct. It should be around, I believe, around like $407. Either way, it is still a bit off, so if you've been looking for a higher end 12th gen Intel CPU, this could be just for you. Looking down a little bit lower, we have a Ryzen 5 5600X, which has gone for around $200 here and there, but it is once again down to $200. And of course, depending on whether you're looking for an AMD or Intel CPU, you could be looking for an i5 12400, which is actually right around its MSRP at $169.95, but that's still not bad. It is at least a little less than what it's been going for elsewhere. Moving on, we have the Ryzen 5 5500, which was pretty much non-existent for quite a while, but it is in fact here, and this is $159 is the MSRP, so it's going for a little less at $138.96. Next up, we have a GPU that is below MSRP, the RX 6600 Power Color Hellhound version, $299.99, not bad. In fact, there is yet another RX 6600 that's also $299.99, but even has $25 additional off with this promo code. So definitely a really good deal right there. And of course, if you're interested in these, I will have affiliate links down in the description below. And if you do like getting PC hardware deals as well as learning when new PC hardware gets released, make sure to sign up to the Gamer Meld notification squad. I'll have a link to that in the description below. And next up for today, while talking GPU prices or just prices coming down in general, there's a new story from Tom's Hardware where they've actually gone over pricing and they found some interesting stuff. For one, in a single month, current GPUs fell by a whopping 14% since June 1st. So from June 1st to July 1st, we're talking a 14% decrease. Now, this is on eBay, so these are used cards, and this goes pretty well perfectly with what we've been seeing with the fact that miners have been selling their GPUs left and right. So of course, if you are on eBay, you're looking for a used GPU, definitely be careful about what you're purchasing. But as I said in my previous videos, we will likely also see drops in the new market as well, and that is the case, though nowhere near as much as we've been seeing in the used market. As you can see here, they tracked a 3% drop in retail prices on average, so definitely not a huge deal there from June 1st to July 1st, but I will say that since the start of 2022, they have fallen by a whopping 57%. So it definitely still is a big drop from the first of this year. I will say that you may see more of a drop fairly soon as more miners begin pouring their GPUs onto eBay. And if retail isn't able to sell as many, they will obviously begin dropping their prices as well. Either way, if we look down here, we can see, especially the higher end GPUs, that's where we're seeing some really big drops. So the 3090 Ti is all the way down to $1,387 on eBay and $1,670 retail. Then we go down here, the 3090, and really quickly, of course, that 1670 is still under the GPU's MSRP, though that $2,000 was absurd when they announced it anyway. But when we move down, the 3090 below MSRP, even the 3080 Ti with retail prices is below the MSRP. You can see back in January, it was a whopping $1,992, yet now it's $1,075. So things are certainly getting so much better than they used to be, and hopefully they'll continue to drop more and more. With that said, Nvidia's newest GPU is even more absurd than we originally thought. As you can see down here, we actually have more benchmarks, and these are coming from Inno3D, which is a board partner for Nvidia, so that would technically make these official. And yet when we look, the 1630 is being compared to the 1050 Ti. And as you can see, it's pretty even with the 1050 Ti. Ever so often, the GTX 1630 beats it out, but it also loses in some of these benchmarks as well. Meaning, Nvidia's newest GPU, their GTX 1630, is essentially a 1050 Ti. And it doesn't have anything new either. Like, there's no ray tracing support. Of course, you wouldn't really want to use ray tracing anyway, but if for whatever reason you did, you can't. So it really is essentially a 1050 Ti. But here's the kicker. As of right now, I still don't believe Nvidia has officially announced an MSRP, but from what we're seeing, this GPU is going for around $169, $199, $159, things like that, except the 1050 Ti, which was launched back in 2016, so it's 6 years old, and when it was launched back in 2016, it was $139. Meaning, a 6-year-old GPU was launched for cheaper than this new GPU, and yet they're just as fast. Of course, you could argue inflation and things like that, but really, I would say no matter how you look at this, it's absolutely absurd. This is hands down one of, if not the worst GPU launches by Nvidia ever. And next up for today, we have a story from known leaker Greymon55. As you can see right here, he mentions, quote, "It's been rumored in the last few days that there will be several new products for Zen 3D. He then goes on to say, it's true, and there will be further information next month. Basically, according to this, AMD is set to launch new CPUs with their 3D V-cache like the 5800X 3D, but other CPUs. We're talking potentially the 5600X 3D, then it's mentioned down here, something like a 5950X 3D. So AMD could flat out launch a slew of new CPUs with their 3D V-cache, and of course we've seen how it helps the 5800X 3D in games, so it will be interesting to see this in other CPUs. Though of course, AMD themselves said the reason they did it with the 5800X 3D is because that was essentially the perfect CPU that would help in games, but also not be bottlenecked by having too few cores or having too many cores where there's no real point in putting it in there anyway. I'm not sure, but this will at least be interesting. And Greymon55 also goes on to say that since AMD said AM4 will exist for a long time, AM4 will inevitably have new products, meaning AMD will likely be putting these products into AM4 motherboards. And I think it'll be nice to see how well these CPUs stack up to Intel's current 12th gen. And then of course, with the fact that they are doing this, they will likely do it for Ryzen 7000 as well. And lastly for today, we have some really interesting information from known leaker Copite7Chemi. As you can see right here, he goes over more info on Nvidia's upcoming RTX 4000 GPUs. And before I get to the really interesting part, let's quickly go over the 4080 and 4070. First up, we see the 4080 with 10,240 FP32 cores. We more or less knew most of this. The thing that gets interesting is that it apparently does come with 16 gigabytes of GDDR6X and has a TGP of 420 watts. Then the 4070 apparently comes with 10 gigabytes of GDDR6 and has a 300 watt TGP. Now, I will say obviously 10 gigabytes is more than the current 8 gigabytes that we see in the 3070, but I do wish they would have bumped it up just a bit more to 12. Maybe before the release they will do that, but of course we shall see. Now the really interesting part comes down to the 4090, where he claims that this GPU comes with a base clock of 2235 and a boost of 2520. Not only that, but the actual max is over 2750 megahertz. Basically, this GPU, besides the fact that it's going to have quite a bit more cores over the 3090, as well as likely a new architecture that may help at least a little bit, it's going to be getting some insane clocks. especially when compared to last gen. I mean, we're talking, I believe it's somewhere around 50% higher clocks, and of course, that's after the right around 50% more cores. So basically, I think we're starting to see exactly how Nvidia plans to get those crazy astronomical performance boosts over last gen. We've been seeing around double, even more performance over last gen, and this is clearly how. Basically, AMD had better bring the heat with their next gen GPUs because Nvidia isn't playing around. So while that does it for today, I hope you liked the video, and let me know what you think about Nvidia's upcoming GPUs, as well as let me know what your favorite PC component deal is right now down in the comments below. And if you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and as always, have a great day.